Hey, Larken Rose here. So much just insanity going on. And lots of people, to their credit, a little bit of credit, who supported Trump are now recognizing what a catastrophic mistake that was. And they're saying, oh, this isn't what we wanted, and so on and so forth. And so now you have, like, they're still doing the fascist thing with ICE, and more stories come out of people getting just kidnapped by masked armed invaders without probable cause, without a warrant. Half the time the people aren't even illegal. So that's ridiculous. And now you have exactly what lots of us were saying was going to happen, is ramping up war in Iran. Now you can debate how much the U.S. is already involved. They're already involved. Whether the U.S. military is there actively doing it themselves, okay, when that's going to happen, if it's already happening, whatever. But obviously, the funding and the machinery of Israel's warmongering psychopaths is largely coming from the U.S. But this video isn't about that. It's about the fact that so many people still view politics as sort of a game. Our guy's going to win. You're going to... And they ignore the fact of the real world consequences of playing that game. And it's not until it hits home that people are suddenly shocked into the reality. And one example of that is right now there's lots of people in Israel and missiles are blowing stuff up and they're hiding in cellars. Oh, what's going on? Well, you know, the guy that lots of you voted for, the guy you cheered for when he was talking about we're going to destroy them and destroy them and destroy them. Well, yeah, that was real, and real people were being destroyed by that warmongering psychopath. And now the same thing's happening in the other direction, and you're on the receiving end of it. It's not a game anymore, is it? It's not just, oh, our team and their team. It's a thing you watch on TV. No, now it's in your living room. Well, it was already in other people's living room. It was already real to them. The violence of the state was already real to them. Now it gets to be real to you. And this is just as true of Americans, even though we're not being bombed at the moment. It's so easy for people to go, yeah, we're going to get rid of those illegals. And be so unaware and so much in team mentality of our guy versus your guy that they don't take 2 seconds to even just think out like one scenario. Never mind the thousands or millions of people whose lives are being affected by this stupid border Nazis and ICE. Just, you have to be able to picture one example of, oh, here's somebody in the country and they came up from Mexico. They're hardworking. They're really nice. Community loves them. Have family here. The like totally decent human being. Tried to get the paperwork. It's either in the process or it didn't work, or just like, I'm not even going to bother. We don't have the money to even try that. We're just going to sneak over and be a decent human being and lay low and mind our business and see if everything goes well. Oops, got caught by the Nazis barging into your house with guns, dragging you away from your family and taking you somewhere else. Like, the real world examples of that, there are huge numbers of them. But none of the people who advocate it think about that, and they intentionally don't think about that. They, well, they're scary, dangerous criminals. We gotta get them out of here. Yeah, but that's not the vast majority of people that ICE is dealing with. It's what they talk about, so you'll be dumb enough to think in terms of, we want our team to win, and their team is poop heads. So rah, rah, rah for deport everybody. And then the real world results of that happen to real people, you intentionally turn a blind eye to. You don't want to know about it. Or you make excuses. Well, okay, I'm sorry that happened. No, not really. You're just sorry that you need to make up an excuse for that happening. Because you wanted that to happen. You cheered for exactly what would cause that to happen. Don't say you didn't want that to happen. Yes, you did. What you didn't want is to have to feel guilt at the real world results of the evil you condone. You wanted to just cheer for a team and vote for a team and go, my guy's better than your guy, and then ignore the results. And that also applies to all the people who fell for the absolutely idiotic notion that Trump was going to be a pro-peace president. No new wars, and they all mindlessly parroted that. They ignored the fact that Trump escalated the bombing and escalated the droning in his first term in office in existing conflicts. And they made he hasn't started a new war. What an idiotic argument. He made it way worse in places war was already happening. But how is that okay? As long as he's only victimizing people who are already being victimized, you're okay with that? You were making excuses for it because you were looking at it like a sports game. Well, my team, I have to make excuses for my team. Your team sucks. Our team is great. So innocent people were being murdered by drones and bombs throughout Trump's entire first term. More than happened even under Obama, who was a war criminal psychopath himself, and he had ramped it up from before him. But when people think like it's a game, and they think in terms of sides, and the reality doesn't hit them until the reality hits them. And I'm not saying I predict this. I don't think it'll happen. But if we get a false flag on U.S. soil to dupe Americans into going to war with Iran, wouldn't really surprise me. If we don't, it's probably because enough people are talking about it and saying, expect a false flag. But imagine the psychopaths being demented enough. They're like, we need support for this war. And like hardly any Democrats are for it. Hardly any Republicans are even for it now. Most of the American people definitely do not want a war with Iran. They understand it's utterly pointless and based on lies. And they're not falling for it. We're going to have to nuke an American city. Can I imagine them doing that? Absolutely. They're absolutely evil enough to do that. Now, are they going to? I don't think so. Because so many people would immediately be suspicious and pissed off, possibly to the point of starting to assassinate people in power, which would absolutely be justified. If you pull off a false flag and you're killing your own people or any other people to start a war, if somebody knocks you off, good. You should be knocked off. But if something like that happens, it doesn't have to be a nuke. Some big bomb goes off, a bunch of people die, and a bunch of Trump supporters are there. Well, Kamala would have been worse. Really? How long are you going to use that excuse for supporting something that led to exactly this? By the way, there's no chance in hell Kamala could have supported a war against Iran and have popular support for it. I mean, Trump doesn't even have popular support. They needed a Republican in there to push that warmonger agenda because otherwise Republicans would have been against it. And if a bomb hits in your neighborhood, in your living room, in your city, whatever, or some horrible thing happens, and you're running around, people suffering, stuff's on fire, whatever, as is happening with a bunch of people in Israel right now, how many people will even stop to think, did I do this? Did I help make this happen? Because if you voted for Trump, the answer is going to be yes. If you voted for Kamala and Biden, the answer is still yes. You keep playing this team thing. You treat it like it's a game and people are dying. Right now, the people aren't you and your neighbors. Some of your neighbors may be violently kidnapped by the border Nazis. But you don't have bombs falling on your house at the moment if you live in the U.S. But lots of people around the world do have bombs literally falling on their houses because of the stupid shit that you voted for. Because you bet on, no, Trump says you won't be like that. How is that any less stupid than the people who said, well, Obama said if elected, he's going to not be a warmonger. Let's give him a Nobel Peace Prize for what he says he's going to later do when he hasn't done anything. And then later, well, golly gee, he acted as another warmonger, just like Trump is doing right now. And the country borders don't stinking matter. If you're murdering innocent people in Iran or in Yemen or Gaza or wherever, or Phoenix or New York, wherever, you're a horrible human being. And a lot of you, almost all of you, well, everybody who voted Democrat or Republican, you voted for the people who do this sort of thing. So it isn't just Trump supporters, but yeah, you voted for a puppet of the machine and a warmonger and a freaking psychopath. And real people are suffering, and more real people are going to suffer and die as a result of what you did, because you viewed it as a game and you didn't take it seriously, because you don't recognize that you bear responsibility for what you made happen. And part of the design of the bullshit cult known as democracy is to make people feel insulated from the real world results of what they helped to empower. Well, I just played a game. I voted for this guy and you voted for that guy. My guy won. Yay. Oh, my guy's doing horrible things. Well, I didn't want that. You made that happen. You now saying you didn't want that, is that going to bring those people back to life? Is that going to undo the harm because you said, hey, that's not what I tried to do? And never mind the fact that a bunch of us were telling you that is exactly what's going to happen if this jackass gets into power. Something pretty close is what was going to happen if the other jackass gets in power. But even if you ignored us and like, well, I didn't think so. No, but you put somebody into a position of power where he could do that. You gave somebody the reins of an authoritarian monstrosity. You did that on purpose. You voted him into power so he would have power. Now he's using the power, and lots of people, innocent people, are being hurt and killed. You did that. You frickin' did that. It wasn't a game. It wasn't just arguing over which team you like on Sunday to win the sports team game. It was real life. It was real violence being used against real people. And I see a bunch of Trumpites still accepting no responsibility. They still talk like they're the victims. Hey, I didn't want Trump to do this. Poor me. He didn't do what I wanted him to do after I put him into power. Oh, are you the one being violently kidnapped or bombed by that psychopath and his underlings? Well, and his masters. He's not really in charge. No, well then shut the hell up. You're not the victim. You're an accomplice. And until you accept that this wasn't a game, it wasn't just a little bickering argument about whose sports team is better. It was a real world empowering of authoritarian violence. Until you accept that you are an accomplice of everything Trump does if you voted for him. Just like the Democrats are accomplices of everything their shitty party does, including the same warmongering, including all manner of horrible violence. Don't talk like you're the victim because you were so stupid and delusional you thought it was a game. Where you just, do I like that guy? Do I like that guy? It wasn't a popularity contest. It was giving somebody societal permission and power to exert violence over huge numbers of people. And you helped make that happen. And you knew it. Part of you knew it, even though you accept no responsibility. All I did was vote. I just pressed a button. So the real world results of this, it's not a game, it's not a joke, it's not something funny, it's not something light, it's real people suffering and being victimized and kidnapped and assaulted, bombed, murdered, terrorized. And if you voted for Trump or if you voted for Democrats, you helped make that happen. And until you all the way recognize your culpability in that happening, you're going to keep playing the stupid game. And if it lands in your living room, it's kind of going to be your fault. And if it does, there's no chance that that's going to be the moment where you accept responsibility. You're going to all the way play the victim of the monster that you empowered. You built a monster. And if it steps on you, you're going to be whining at everybody except yourself. Maybe stop empowering monsters. Because the only people who are actually justified in condemning what the monster's doing are the people who didn't put it there.